The anomaly pulsed with an impossible light that shouldn't exist in the vacuum of space. Commander Elian Drake wiped condensation from his helmet visor, breath quickening as his suit's sensors went haywire. After 15 years of deep space exploration, he'd found plenty of cosmic curiosities, but nothing like this. "Flight control, are you getting these readings?" Elian steadied himself against the tether connecting him to the Artemis V, the objects emitting frequencies across spectrums we can't even measure. "Copy that, Commander," Maya Ortiz's voice crackled through his comms. "Telemetry is unusual. Proceed with caution." Unusual was putting it mildly. The artifact hovered 20 meters away, a geometric impossibility of obsidian and silver, its surface etched with luminescent symbols that seemed to shift when viewed directly. Elian propelled himself closer, the microgravity thrusters on his EVA suit responding to his neural commands. "I'm going to attempt contact." "Drake, wait for backup analysis," Captain Ishiguro ordered from the ship. "That's a direct." Elian switched his comms to mute. At 42, he'd earned his reputation as Earth's most decorated explorer by following instincts over orders. The strange pull he felt toward the object wasn't scientific curiosity alone. It was something primal, almost intimate in its insistence. When his gloved fingers touched the smooth surface, the artifact flared. Patterns of light coursed up his arm, across his suit, and somehow, impossibly, into his skin beneath. His vision filled with stars, not the familiar constellations of Earth's sky, but alien formations speaking of worlds beyond human knowledge. Then darkness. He awoke floating freely, his tether cut. The Artemis V was nowhere in sight, but he wasn't alone. Before him stretched a vessel of impossible proportions, iridescent and organic, like a living entity rather than constructed technology. A seam appeared in its hull, widening into an entrance that beckoned with amber light. "This is Commander Elian Drake of Earth," he broadcast, uncertain if anything was receiving. "I come in peace and seek communication." From the opening emerged a figure that stole Elian's breath. Humanoid but clearly alien, she moved with liquid grace despite standing nearly 7 feet tall. Her skin shimmed with subtle patterns like starlight on water, and her eyes, 3 of them, studied him with evident curiosity. The central eye, vertical and crystalline, seemed to see through him rather than at him. "I am Vina," she spoke, her voice bypassing his ears to resonate directly in his mind. "Empress of the Stellar Dominion, sovereign of the Astralis Confederation." Her body was adorned not with clothing, but with orbiting fragments of what appeared to be living metal shifting position as she approached him. Despite her alien appearance, there was something undeniably regal and feminine about her presence. "You activated the beacon," she continued, reaching toward him. "The first of your kind to recognize its call." Elian tried to retreat, but found himself immobilized by invisible force. "I meant no trespass," he managed to say. Her touch against his helmet should have been impossible to feel, yet heat bloomed where her 6-fingered hand rested. The material between them seemed to dissolve, allowing skin-to-skin contact that sent electricity through his nerves. "After millennia of searching," Vina whispered, her third eye glowing brighter, "I've found one with the resonance pattern. You are compatible, Elian Drake." "Compatible for what?" he asked, fighting the strange desire her touch awakened. She smiled, revealing teeth like polished opals. "To be mine." A symbol appeared on his exposed wrist, burning into his flesh without pain, a mark of swirling cosmic patterns that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. "I've searched too many worlds to let you go," Vina said, drawing him toward her vessel. "The universe has given me a gift I cannot refuse." Despite every rational thought screaming resistance, Elian felt the unprecedented pull of connection, a bond transcending species and logic. As the Empress's ship enveloped them both, his last sight was of the Artemis V appearing in the distance, too late to reclaim what was already marked as belonging to the stars. The celestial dominion hummed with energy that Elian could feel through the soles of his feet. 3 days aboard the massive vessel, and he still couldn't comprehend its scale. Corridors stretched for kilometers, ceiling heights varied from claustrophobic to cathedral-like, and gravity shifted between sections without warning. "Your quarters displease you?" Vina appeared silently behind him, her 3 eyes studying his reaction. She wore what seemed to be living armor that pulsed with her breathing, revealing glimpses of her luminescent skin. Elian turned from the viewport where he'd been watching stars streak by at impossible speeds. They're more luxurious than anything on Earth. That's not why I'm restless. You still think of escape? It wasn't a question. The mark on his wrist glowed softly when she stepped closer. I'm a prisoner who's been abducted, he said, meeting her gaze despite the discomfort of looking into her crystalline third eye. My people will be searching for me. Vina's laugh was like wind chimes in a storm. Your vessel's primitive sensors cannot track us through quantum folds. Besides, you are not a prisoner, Elian. You are a candidate. For what exactly? He'd asked this question repeatedly since his abduction, receiving only cryptic answers. This time, Vina gestured to the wall, which dissolved to reveal a holographic display of DNA strands. One human, one alien, spiraling around each other in a complex dance. The Astralis have ruled the 7 galaxies for millennia, she explained, her voice taking on a formal tone. But our genetic line weakens with each generation. We require compatible material to strengthen our lineage. Elian's stomach tightened. I'm a breeding stock. You misunderstand. Vina moved closer, her height forcing him to look up. Among billions of sentient species, fewer than a dozen possess the genetic markers compatible with ours. Among those species, perhaps one individual in a billion carries the specific sequence needed. Her hand brushed his cheek, sending electric currents down his spine. You are that one, Elian Drake. Despite himself, he leaned into her touch. The connection between them was undeniable, a biological response he couldn't control. Tomorrow, you begin the adaptation protocols, she continued. My geneticists will prepare your system for compatibility testing. And if I refuse? Vina's expression flickered with something almost human, disappointment. Then you would be returned to your people, your memory adjusted. But the mark, she traced the symbol on his wrist, suggests your essence has already begun to accept our bond. That night, alone in his quarters, Elian examined the ship's schematics he'd been secretly memorizing. 3 possible escape routes, 2 potential communications arrays to contact Earth. Yet each time he committed to a plan, the mark on his wrist pulsed painfully, as if protesting. At dawn, or what passed for dawn in the artificial day cycle, he was escorted to a chamber filled with floating spheres of liquid light. Attendants with features similar to Vina's but less defined prepared him, removing his Earth-issued clothing. The Empress comes, they whispered reverently, backing away as Vina entered. She wore almost nothing, save for a shimmering veil of energy that accentuated rather than concealed her alien form. Elian found himself unable to look away, captivated by the graceful power in her movements. The adaptation requires direct cellular communion, she explained, stepping into one of the glowing spheres. Join me. Logic told him to resist, but when she extended her hand, he took it, allowing himself to be drawn into the luminous orb. The liquid enveloped them both, yet he could breathe normally. Where their skin touched, sensations amplified tenfold. I can feel your fear, Vina whispered, her face inches from his, and your fascination. This is wrong, he said, but didn't pull away when her arms encircled him. I should hate this. Yet you don't. Her third eye glowed brighter as she pressed their foreheads together. Your mind fights, but your essence recognizes mine, just as mine recognized yours across the void. The liquid around them began to pulse in rhythm with their heartbeats, synchronizing them. Elian gasped as images flooded his mind. Vina's memories, her centuries of solitude, the weight of ruling alone, and the desperate search for a genetic match. I never expected to find you on such a young world, she murmured against his lips. A warrior scholar with fire in his blood. As their bodies pressed together in the weightless suspension, Elian's resistance crumbled. The adaptation had begun, and with it, a transformation neither of them fully understood. Weeks aboard the Celestial Dominion had changed Elian in ways he could no longer deny. His reflection showed subtle alterations, eyes with faint luminescence in the dark, skin with a slight iridescent sheen, enhanced strength and sensory perception. The mark on his wrist had expanded into intricate patterns reaching his elbow. Your adaptation progresses remarkably, observed Thalix, Vina's chief geneticist, during one of Elian's daily examinations. The Empress chose well. Not that she gave me much choice, Elian replied, though the bitterness in his voice had diminished. Thalix's four-fingered hand paused over a holographic display. You still believe you were randomly selected, Interesting. Before Elian could question this, alarms blared throughout the vessel. The lighting shifted to a deep crimson as Thalix hurried from the laboratory. Alone and unsupervised, Elian seized the opportunity. He placed his palm against the console Thalix had been using. To his surprise, the system granted him access, another sign of his changing biology. "Display information on human compatibility with astrales," he commanded. Screens materialized around him, filled with data in the alien script he'd been learning. What he read made his blood run cold. Earth had been visited by the astrales for millennia, subtle genetic markers planted in human ancestry, waiting for the right combination. His family line had been monitored for generations. His career in space exploration subtly influenced to ensure he would find the artifact. "You weren't supposed to discover this yet." Venus stood in the doorway, her expression unreadable. Gone was her usual regal attire, replaced by what appeared to be battle armor, segments of living metal protecting her vital areas while leaving her lithe form unencumbered. "You engineered me," Elian said flatly. "My entire existence." "No," she crossed to him in 3 fluid strides. "We identified potential in your genetic line, yes, but what you became, what you are, that was always your journey alone." He wanted to feel betrayed, manipulated, but the connection between them had grown too strong to deny. When she touched his face, the now familiar electrical current raced through him. "There's more you haven't told me," he said, "about why you need me." Vina's third eye dimmed slightly. "Come, there's something you must see." She led him through restricted sections of the ship to a spherical chamber at its heart. Inside, a massive holographic display showed countless star systems, many illuminated in blue, others in red, and some, including Earth's solar system, in amber. "The Void Collective," Vina explained, gesturing to the red systems. "A civilization that consumes rather than creates. They harvest worlds for resources without regard for sentient life." "They're heading toward Earth," Elian realized, seeing the pattern of expansion. "Yes, within a century at most." Vina's voice carried genuine concern. "The astrales have held them at bay for millennia, but our numbers dwindle while theirs multiply. And this is where I come in, some kind of weapon." Vina's laugh held no humor. "Not a weapon, a beginning." She placed her hand over the mark on his arm. "The astrales' royal line carries unique abilities, matter manipulation, energy conversion, quantum communication, powers that require specific neural structures." Understanding dawned. "You need heirs with these abilities." "Heirs born of our union would have my abilities and your species' adaptability, creativity, resilience. Qualities my people have lost through eons of controlled evolution." The chamber trembled suddenly as the ship lurched. Vina steadied him, her body pressed against his. "The Void Scouts have found us," she said grimly, "earlier than expected." In that moment of crisis, with alarms blaring and danger approaching, Elian made a decision. He pulled Vina closer, feeling the now familiar resonance between them intensify. "Show me," he whispered against her ear. "Everything you are, no more secrets." Her third eye flared with brilliant light as she pressed her forehead to his. Their consciousness merged in a rush of sensation, her memories becoming his, her existence flowing into his mind. He experienced her centuries of life, the burden of watching her people decline, the loneliness of ruling without an equal. When they separated, breathless, Elian's eyes shimmered with the same light as hers. "I understand now," he said, the mark on his arm glowing in response to his emotions. "What we could be together." Vina's usually composed features softened with vulnerable hope. "You would stay willingly, become my consort." "To protect Earth and stand with you?" Elian smiled as the ship shuddered again. "It seems I was made for this." Their lips met as the battle stations announced imminent combat, a kiss that sealed a covenant between worlds, human passion meeting alien devotion in perfect resonance. The celestial dominion shuddered as Void Collective weapons struck its quantum shields. From the command center, Elian watched Vina direct her forces with calm precision, her 3 eyes constantly monitoring multiple tactical displays. "Their formation suggests a trapping maneuver," he observed, pointing to the holographic battle map. "I've seen this tactic in Earth naval warfare." Vina glanced at him with newfound respect. "Explain." "They're not trying to destroy the ship, They're herding us toward that nebula. Elian traced the trajectory, likely an ambush point. The Astralis commanders exchanged looks of surprise. This human perspective was something their centuries of standardized tactical algorithms hadn't considered. Recalculate approach vectors, Vina commanded. Prepare counteroffensive pattern Drake Alpha. Elian felt a surge of pride hearing his name attached to the battle plan. In the 3 months since his adaptation began, he'd earned his place among her advisors, bringing unpredictable human strategy to complement their advanced technology. A violent explosion rocked the ship, throwing Elian against Vina. She steadied him, her touch sending familiar electricity through his modified nervous system. "They've breached the outer hull," reported Corex, the security chief. "Boarding parties detected in sectors 7 through 12. "I'll lead the defense," Vina stated, her armor materializing around her body. "Not alone," Elian insisted, drawing the energy weapon he'd been trained to use. Its handle pulsed in recognition of his genetic signature. For a moment, her royal mask slipped, revealing concern. "Your transformation isn't complete. You're vulnerable." "I'm still a combat-trained Earth commander," he reminded her with a grin. "Besides, we're better to protect the Empress than at her side." The corridors of the ship had become battlegrounds. Void soldiers, biomechanical abominations with multiple limbs and expressionless faceplates, poured through breach points. The Astralis guards fought valiantly but were clearly outnumbered. Elian and Vina moved together with practiced coordination. Where she wielded cosmic energy that disintegrated enemies, he employed guerrilla tactics learned in Earth's special forces, using the ship's architecture to create choke points and ambushes. "Your species fights with remarkable ingenuity," Vina observed after they cleared a junction, her breath coming faster than he'd ever witnessed. "We've had plenty of practice fighting against superior forces," Elian replied, recharging his weapon. "Humanity's specialty." They pressed forward toward the main breach, but were suddenly cut off by a massive void commander who emerged from a side passage. Nearly 9 feet tall, its exoskeleton bristled with weapons. "The Empress," it gurgled through its vocoder. "Prime target acquired." It fired before either could react, a blast of corrosive energy heading directly for Vina. Without thought, Elian threw himself into its path. The impact sent him crashing against the wall, agony spreading across his chest. Through blurring vision, he saw Vina's expression shift from shock to fury. She unleashed a wave of power unlike anything he'd witnessed before, disintegrating not just the commander but entire sections of corridor. Then she was kneeling beside him, her usually cool composure shattered by fear as she cradled his head. "Foolish human," she whispered, her third eye scanning his injuries. "Why?" "Seemed like the thing to do," he managed, tasting blood. The mark on his arm burned suddenly, spreading golden light across his wounded torso. Vina gasped as she recognized what was happening. "The bond is completing itself," she said with wonder. "Your sacrifice triggered the final transformation." Their surroundings faded as Elian felt himself drawn into a space between consciousness and oblivion. Here, he and Vina existed as pure energy, their essences intertwining in a dance more intimate than any physical union. "I see you now," his mind spoke directly to hers, "all of you." "And I you," she responded, her mental touch caressing his essence. "Your courage, your devotion, they are worthy of legend among my people." In this liminal space, they merged completely, memories, desires, fears, all shared without barriers. He felt her centuries of loneliness. She experienced his fierce loyalty and capacity for love. The connection transcended physical attraction, becoming something neither had words to describe. When awareness returned, they were still in the corridor, but Elian stood uninjured, the mark now covering half his body in intricate patterns that pulsed with golden light. He could feel new power coursing through him, Vina's gift, activated by their completed bond. "The ship is secure, Empress," Corex reported through the communication system. "The enemy retreats." But Vina wasn't listening. Her attention remained fixed on Elian, her 3 eyes wide with something he'd never seen in her before, awe. "The legends spoke of this," she whispered. "When true resonance is found, the Astralis can share their essence with their chosen, but it hasn't happened in 1,000 years. Elian looked down at his transformed body, then back to her. "What am I becoming?" Her smile held both triumph and tenderness. My equal. The grand assembly chamber of the celestial dominion gleamed with crystalline light, its architecture shifting subtly, as if breathing in time with the gathered Astralis elite. 6 months had passed since the battle with the Void Collective, 6 months of preparation for this moment. Elian stood before a floating mirror, barely recognizing himself. The transformation was complete. His skin now had the same subtle iridescence as Vina's, his eyes held an inner light, and the golden markings covered most of his body in intricate patterns. Yet his features remained human, a bridge between two species. "Having second thoughts?" asked Thalix, adjusting the ceremonial attire that flowed around Elian's body like liquid starlight. "Not about Vina," Elian replied, "but representing Earth in an interstellar alliance. That's a heavy responsibility for someone who was just an explorer." "You were never just anything," came Vina's voice as she entered his chambers. "That's precisely why you're perfect for this role." She approached in her full regalia, a crown of impossible geometry floating above her head, her body adorned with living metal and cosmic energy that accentuated her regal beauty. Yet beneath the formal exterior, Elian sensed her nervousness through their bond. "You're worried about the Council's reaction," he said, taking her hands in his. "Some traditionalists believe I should have chosen an Astralis consort, regardless of genetic compatibility." Her third eye dimmed slightly. "They fear change." "Then we'll show them why change is necessary." He pulled her closer, their foreheads touching in the intimate gesture they'd come to share. Together. The ceremony began with a procession through the assembled dignitaries, representatives from all 7 galaxies under Astralis' protection. Elian walked half a step behind Vina, as protocol demanded, but she repeatedly slowed her pace to keep them level, a subtle message to all watching. At the center of the chamber stood the confluence, an ancient artifact similar to the one Elian had discovered months ago. Its surface rippled as they approached. "Esteemed Council," Vina's voice resonated throughout the vast space. "I present Commander Elian Drake of Earth, chosen consort to the throne, first human guardian of the 7 galaxies, and my bonded equal." Murmurs spread through the assembly. An elderly Astralis counselor stepped forward, his disapproval evident. "This unprecedented union requires proof of worthiness," he announced. "The human must demonstrate his ability to channel the cosmic essence." Vina's anger flashed through their bond, but Elian squeezed her hand reassuringly. "I accept the challenge," he stated, stepping toward the confluence. The artifact responded immediately to his approach, its surface pattern matching the markings on his skin. When he placed his palms against it, energy surged through him, raw cosmic power that would have killed him months ago, but now flowed naturally through his transformed body. The chamber gasped collectively as the confluence rose, orbiting Elian in a display not seen in generations. The golden light from his markings expanded, forming a nebula-like aura that enveloped both him and Vina when she stepped to his side. "Two essences in harmony," she declared, taking his hand. "The strength of Astralis' wisdom joined with human passion and adaptability." The counselor bowed, opposition silenced by the undeniable evidence before him. What followed was both political ceremony and intimate union. As diplomatic protocols were observed and alliances formalized, Elian and Vina completed their bond in the ancient Astralis tradition, their consciousness merging completely through the confluence, witnessed by representatives of thousands of worlds. In that sacred mental space, they were alone yet surrounded by stars. "I never imagined finding you," her thoughts caressed his, "an equal born from such a distant world." "I never imagined becoming more than human," he responded, "yet I've never felt more myself than I do with you." Their essences intertwined more deeply than physical bodies could achieve, pleasure rippling through dimensions of existence beyond normal perception. In this space, they were neither human nor Astralis, but something new, the first of a lineage that would bridge worlds. When they emerged from the communion, the assembly knelt in recognition of what they had witnessed, the birth of a new era. Later, in their private chambers high in the ship's spire, they stood watching the stars through a viewport that showed space as it truly was, alive with energies and connections invisible to unaltered human eyes. "Earth is just becoming visible," Elian noted, pointing to a distant blue spark. "Your first diplomatic mission as my consort," Venus said, wrapping her arms around him from behind. Are you ready to return home and explain your new situation? He turned in her embrace, studying the face that had once seemed so alien but now felt like home. Earth isn't my only home anymore. His hand traced the contours of her face with tender familiarity. But yes, I'm ready to build this bridge between our peoples. And after, she asked, unusual vulnerability in her voice, when Earth is secured in the Alliance. Elian smiled, golden light pulsing beneath his skin in rhythm with his emotions. Then we continue what we've started, healing the divide between our civilizations, preparing for the larger conflict ahead, and perhaps, he placed his hand gently on her abdomen, beginning that family we've discussed. Her third eye brightened with joy as she pulled him toward their bed. As royal attire dissolved into nothingness, they came together not as empress and consort, human and alien, but as equals united across the stars, the first of many bridges between worlds that would change the cosmos forever.